Dude, you want to hear some fucked up shit?
Of
I've
course.
never had clam chowder.
Really?
What?
From Maine's cold coast to Connecticut pride, Vermont's green hills take it all in stride. Massachusetts traffic we grip and we grind with a Dunkin' iced coffee and no peace of mind. So New England, stand up proud. Chowder thick, we shout it loud. From Fenway Chance to Rhode Island tide, New Hampshire's cry, live free or die. So New England, with Ian Brownhill.
Good friggin' morning from New England, folks. Welcome back to episode 69 of the So New England podcast. I'm your host, Ian Brownhill, joined by my co-host, RJ Travisano, all things life's better in New England. So New England podcast producer, Vinny G, behind the lens. And we have a first for you.
That's usually my line.
I know, but I'm just saying
you can have it.
I'm personally, this is a personal one that I'm pumped up about.
Yeah.
Because I've been listening. I've known about this gentleman for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
RJ, tell us who we have on as a guest today.
Here we go. I haven't done this in a while, so take a seat. It's time for me to give my rap game a repeat. So here I go. Vin, drop the beat.
Oh my God.
Just
please.
kidding.
Oh,
I'm
thank
kidding.
God.
I'm totally kidding.
That
That was a one and done, I promise.
call.
I'm going to leave all the rhyming and freestyling to our guest because as a professional rapper, I think he far exceeds those qualifications compared to me. And let me tell you why. With over 1 million monthly listeners between Spotify and iTunes and nearly 500 million, yes, I said billion streams worldwide, I think our guest knows a few things about music, holding it down and representing good old Boston, and I can promise you, he's supposed to be here. We welcome to the So New England pod, singer, songwriter, and producer, Token.
Awesome. Token, thank you so much for taking time to jump on the pod with us.
Of course.
Dude,
I'm with. Well, I said, as long as it's episode 69, I will be there.
Well, I appreciate it. Toke, man, as a little bit of a fanboy here, man, I've been listening to your music for quite some time. I think I caught wind of, well, I'll have you tell your story first, but I was, when was your first like viral moment with some of your music? Because I'm trying to remember the first time I saw something. I don't know. Were you ever on Vine? Was that ever a thing for you? Did you ever have any videos on there?
No, I did have a Vine, but no one saw it.
No, all right. Because I'm remembering. I'm remembering some music and some videos from some time ago now. But I'd love to kind of just get your backstory here. That's kind of how we start out all these episodes, and tell us how you grew up here in New England and how you got to becoming a rapper and where that inspiration came from.
Yeah. Got you. So originally I'm from Salem, Mass. And lived there until I started really writing by the time I was obsessed with rap by the time I was like 5 and 6. Like my sister's 6 years older than me, and she was like into shit early, her age. So she got me, I was like 6 with a CD player of like fucking Get Rich or Die Trying and like fucking Tupac and shit like that. So music was always a part of my life in Salem. And then my parents split. My mom moved to Marblehead. So then I was living with her in Marblehead ever since I was like 10. Would occasionally see my dad. And then that didn't last like incredibly long. But yeah, I started recording when I was 10. Just like I found GarageBand on the computer, and I was just a sad young boy, so I wanted to rap about my frustrations as a young boy. And then I started making music videos when I was 13, started releasing them when I was 14. And yeah, maybe what the first videos you saw could have been like Facebook is when I kind of like got my first like little moments, like I would just enter contests online and stuff. And then when I was 17, is when I had like my first like real viral moment. It was a song called No Sucker MCs. And that's like the first time, like blogs picked me up and like celebrities were like shouting me out and stuff. And that's when like everything really like began. I started touring and traveling, but yeah, originally from Salem and bouncing from Salem to Marblehead, and then Marblehead is where I did like a lot of my uh I guess like formative years. But ever since I was like 17, I just been like traveling around. So as much as I, feel like a New England kid, I was always like a recluse and not leave the house not leaving the house other than like all I did was make music ever since. Like I would just leave school and then just like make music and wasn't social and was not good with the people part of living. I was more good at music, creative stuff. So yeah, that's cool.
No, hey, listen, man, I feel like that's low key in its own way. That's kind of New England as a whole. It's like not, some of us are just not people person, whether you're reclusive indoors and you're doing something like rap or you're playing video games or, what have you.
Mm.
So, but that's actually, a really good, incredible story. And I'm curious to see how that led to you using music as an expression. Like, how did that art form, what did that do for you? Because I'm sure that there's a lot more to just what you shared, but how did that lead to you finding the inspiration to want to be a rapper, specifically rapping? Because, there's a lot of genres of music and rap is definitely one of the more difficult. And, Massachusetts, not necessarily like the largest music scene for the longest time, so you had a lot of chips against you. So what did that mean for you and what did that do for you?
When I look back, I definitely had like um I was lucky that if I was like a pot, I had like a bunch of shit going on. Like one thing is that my sister got me into rap when it's the only thing I knew by the time I was like 5, 6, like it was just so ingrained in me. That's one. Two, my dad was like an aspiring musician and he used to like play the guitar and sing and stuff. So like and my sister acted, she went to like this acting camp. So like being a performer and like music and like just performing in general wasn't like far fetched to me. It was like very natural to me. And I just grew up in like a very like emotional house. And people really wore their like, like feelings on the sleeve. And like it sounds silly sometimes when I talk about it because I was only fucking 6 and like 7 and 8. It's like what the fuck do you know? But I was always just kind of like a sad, angry kid, and just like depressed at like a really young age, and like not liking life when I was really young. And I think it was just the way my sister puts it is like you could like feel it in the walls of my house. Like my parents were just it was just like we just all like had our own stuff. And but one thing that was like really special about my family is like I knew what depression was. Like I knew, oh, mom's depressed, like or my sister's like bad right now, or my dad is bad right now. Like that was a narrative. Like it wasn't I was never like I mean, I guess at some point maybe I was like ashamed of it, but it was really not like it was always a narrative. Like it wasn't weird. It wasn't abnormal to me to like be in your feelings or whatever. And what made me feel better was just at first writing about it. Like it really kind of started out like poetry.
Mm.
Um, and then and I remember I think it was in 5th grade maybe. I already started rapping, but um we needed to like get a book for like reading during like nap time or like not nap time, like reading time or whatever after recess. And I got um I don't think I've ever told anybody this actually.
All right.
But I got the book I think it was called A Rose I Grew from Concrete, and it was like all the poems that Tupac wrote in jail. I think that's what it was. And it like really like showed me like that rap was poetry and like the poems and like journal shit that I was writing really were just like raps. So at a young age I just yeah, I just began rapping and it just made me feel better. Uh and at first it was like really like emotional stuff, but those didn't do well because no one wants to hear what like a 10-year-old has to say about life. So then like discovered at a young age, like when I started getting more into like the technical aspect of it and like, the words and what M used to do and what back then my favorites are like M and Luda from like a lyrical standpoint. And when I started like being more influenced by them, I noticed people like wanted to listen more. So kind of like the technical aspect of it, just kind of like it started working. So I got more into it. Then I had like, I started getting like obsessed with words and like just the rapping, the technical aspect of rapping, but really the basis of what I do is expression and just like making me feel better and like helping me understand what I'm feeling.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool. I feel like a lot of people, when they talk about things from like a mental health standpoint, it's almost like your form of journaling.
Yeah.
You're putting your emotions into your music and in your songs, and that's your way of expressing it. And I think, we talk all the time about how important mental health is, and that's awesome. Because I know during my sessions when I see my person, we've talked about journaling a few different times, and that's your way of doing it. That's really cool.
Is that your way of soft launching a rap career for us right now?
If I started a rap career, it would last about 45 seconds, maybe.
No, man.
You heard those first intro, those first two bars.
Yeah, well, I was impressed.
No, number one, I appreciate you kind of like being vulnerable and sharing that with us.
Yeah,
but
hell yeah.
also, I think this is a really good segue because obviously some of the things that intrigue me the most about you is the intelligence behind the words that you use. As a millennial, I grew up an Eminem fan. I grew up fans of people like Ludacris and other rappers that just obviously that's not to shit on mumble rap and the new wave of music and how people are choosing to enjoy it. But I've just always been far more intrigued by someone who's telling a story and sharing their lived experiences. That way it brings together a community. It has a sense of purpose behind its lyrics. But it doesn't surprise me to hear that like you were doing this at such a young age. So, I know that you kind of verbalized it by saying, oh, it was kind of weird because I was 6 years old, but like I knew I was depressed. It's like that actually explains to me in a thousand word, like a few words, how your emotional intelligence has led your career. Because one thing that is so powerful is the fact that you tell such a very good, vivid story in lyrical form, which I think is just not appreciated enough in today's
100%.
genre because it's such a watch quickly, scroll type of world. Everything needs to click and hit within the first 5 seconds, and people are uninterested. And yeah, so that's actually incredibly like eye opening. I'm like, oh shit, like yeah, that explains a hell of a lot as to where his intelligence comes from. So that leads me down the path of asking you, how do you prep your songs? Where does it come from? Are you someone that starts with a beat? Do you already have something written? How do you conceptualize a song?
Um, it it uh it depends, but it usually starts with the beat. Like it usually whatever, like sometimes like the music itself will like weirdly like unlock a memory or something, or like something I forget about, or like I don't know, it'll just bring out a certain like train of thought for me. But I come up with like ideas all the time of like, oh, I want to make a song about this or say this, or oh, this is an interesting concept, and I'll like put it on the back burner. Um, but usually it starts with the music. It's tough because like, and I think this is still something I'm like learn like I'm very much like a writer before anything else. And yeah, I am proud of that. But at the end of the day, like music is music. It's to be felt. It's the brain doesn't make the best music. Like feelings do. And like I feel like the heart, like it's a feeling thing. Like music has magic powers. And I think, my career, a lot of it has been like the writing has always came first. And I think like I've evolved as like a music maker, and I still hope to get like better at that. Um, but but I say that to say, um, it usually starts with the music, and I think it, like, kinda should. I mean, it depends, everybody's got their own, um, different things, but music is magic, dude, and, like and yeah, I sometimes don't like to not like I don't like to talk about, but, like, I feel silly talking about, being, like especially, like, a few years ago, I used to be like, um this, I didn't grow up on the street. I'm this white kid from the North Shore, like talking about like, oh, I was depressed at 6. Like people won't take that serious. But I think that that stuff, like, there are a lot of kids like me. And obviously not everybody's struggle is like equal. And I think like at this point, I think it's important to, I think now like it's just important to be as specific and like share what my struggles or whatever were, not saying they're equal to everyone else's, or it's important to not like front like I'm something I'm not, and it's important to like say the things that I don't necessarily like want to say, because there are a lot of kids like me. There are a lot of kids who, grew up listening to Luda and Em and Pac and Jay, and that maybe didn't relate to everything they were saying, but related to the emotion of it, and they have their own their own version of it.
Absolutely. I don't think there's anything silly about that at all, man,
Yeah.
because
I agree.
I feel that because again, now as a content creator and as an artist, obviously a very different form of yours, I think there's definitely this stigma that exists online, not around just mental health in general, but there's this stigma that just because someone has it worse than you, that doesn't allow you the space to like have your problem, right? Because we all are only going to be able to have our own lived experiences. And in your case, you are battling these particular demons and you're facing them head on every day via your music. That's a great way for you to use your platform to help someone else that's still trying to find their way and how they can express it. And I don't think that just because maybe you're not homeless, or maybe because you're not missing a leg, or a paraplegic, or just because you're not facing these particular adversities, it doesn't mean that your adversity isn't just as important. Because yes, those may be worse in a grand scheme of things, but that's like not your life. So the only thing you can do is like empathize with someone that's going through that, but you can't feel it the way that you feel your depression. You can't understand it the way that you feel that anger and that anxiety and that desire to like get it out in some capacity that makes you put pen to paper. And I think that it's incredibly valuable that you're doing something like that. So I don't think it's silly at all, man. Cause I
Yeah.
think, 500 million streams, that's not a mistake, man. It's because you're doing something incredibly right. So kudos to you to be vulnerable and put yourself out there. But also it's like, I mean, let's just face facts, man. You're writing some good shit. That's like good music. And that's
Yeah.
that's definitely something to be incredibly proud of, especially being from the South Shore, man, and being a New Englander. As a New Englander, I think that's badass. We got to stick together. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. When I was younger, like I said, like, dude, I legit like y- you'd be surprised by how much I don't know, and even my family, like my mom is from my mom is from New Jersey, but we were just like I grew up with a weird family, dude. Like we were very not like never went into Boston. A lot of like my parent, I so didn't grow up with sports at all. Like I don't know any sports. My dad like there was no sports. There was no like and like we just had a specific ass family. But I think the more I get older and the more I travel, the more like I really feel that like New England is like in me, and I love it, dude. And I it's almost like I'm late to a lot of things. Like I so haven't ventured in like the sports world at all, or like I so like I've dude, you want to hear some fucked up shit?
of
I've
course.
never had clam chowder.
Really?
What?
What would you say was the hardest thing to learn growing up?
Probably learning how to like use, save, or spend money.
You legit worked in banking, did you not?
You're welcome.
Are you still with Dime Bank, or are you too Hollywood now?
Okay, rude, but yes, I am.
Imagine your followers finding out you're with a Connecticut-based bank.
Okay, first of all, they have a branch in Wesley, Rhode Island, which is where we grew up. So really that's brownie points because I'm sticking to my roots. Second, I think everyone would appreciate that I'm with a bank that knows and understands their community. Their tagline is legit, community banking lives here.
Hey, I'm not asking you to sell me on it. I've been banking with them for years, and they know me on a first-name basis. I'm just saying, I'm surprised is all. I can see the headlines now. Mr. Anti-Connecticut actually banks with local community bank?
Okay, you know what? Follow along with me here. They're FDIC insured, Equal housing lenders, wicked friendly. They take care of all my personal needs, have expansive products to help all my businesses, offer lending across the board, merchant services. What more could I possibly want or need? And you know that I secretly like Connecticut, so.
Oh, I hope you heard that, folks. Dime Bank is the reason Ian loves Connecticut.
Okay, you're ridiculous. Funny story though. You know how they have like the mobile app with
Yep.
like banking, Lifesaver, you can do all the deposits. Have you tried to teach your mom how to do the mobile deposit
No.
yet? I was teaching my mom how to do it, and she takes a selfie instead of the check. Visit dimebank.com to learn more.
I've never had clam chowder. I've never had like I've had a lobster roll, but I've never had like a lobster roll in Boston. Like I've never done that. I've never went to a basketball. I've never been to a basketball game. Never been to a football game. I went to a baseball game. I think once I was dragged to one. I kind of fucking hate baseball, to be honest. But I never been to like a Bruins game. Let me just get out. All
I think we got to get you in those places just to feel it, man, because it's not even so much about the sports as much it is the New England environment. Seeing like New Englanders
yeah.
come together, sometimes a little bit too much with too many drinks, and they get in fights. But even then, you're like, only in New England
I've
would.
drank before. I do like to drink.
It's just so funny to see like when New Englanders get together that like even though you're rooting for the same team, somehow you manage to piss each other off. That's such a Boston thing. Like you go to New York and like Giants fans or Jets fans or Yankees fans will fight the opposing fans. In New England, Boston fans fight Boston
We yell
fans.
at each other. Yeah.
Some stupid shit, man. So let's get back into the release. Your first album was 2016, right? I'm sure you probably had some EPs before that, but what was the first album that you really put out that this was like the one that really put you on the map?
The first album that was Between Somewhere was when I was 19. I think it was 2018. I have a mixtape about that's Eraser Shavings. That was like me still in like high school and stuff. And that I have a ton of music that like never made it to streaming and has it on mixtape and stuff. But I would say Between Somewhere was like the first like, yeah, that's like my first like debut project.
That's awesome. And what was that like for you to have that after all those years of writing and practicing and learning and being inspired by people to like have your first album?
It was a crazy time, dude. It was like, um, you don't know shit at that time, and you're just kind of going with the flow and like seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. And I look back at that time of like, um, in a weird way, like I was thinking about this recently. That I look back at that time of like, that was like the first time I had like a successful tour. Like I was like selling out some shows in like Europe and around the US and stuff. And I remember, and some of these videos got like millions of views and stuff. It was like my first time. And um I remember thinking like I've always worked really hard. Like I've always working hard is like a big thing for me. Like I feel that there's so many people who like you know, want to be an artist, and like who am I to work less than like someone who is working hard and not even loving their job. Like working hard is like a very important thing to me. But even back then, I kind of looked at it like even though I worked hard, it's still kind of like a fluke. And like maybe there's a ton of people like me who are also getting like millions of views and like are selling out shows and stuff. Your brain does a thing of like, I mean, I guess it depends who you are, but my brain did a thing of like, it's not that crazy. I also like another lucky thing I had was like, my like friends around me were so not yes men. My manager was not a yes man. Like I picked that up early, and I was just like grew up around some like real motherfuckers, and I never I don't know, maybe some people have different stories about me when I was younger, but like I never really believed the hype about me. Like I always wanted to be better, and it's like I didn't have homies that were like bumping my music. I kind of was like um I was like in the YouTube world while like the SoundCloud era was like a thing. So I wasn't even though I was amassing these like views or whatever, it wasn't like the cool group, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I just never like um I never was like, I'm the shit, you know what I mean? And um and so I guess back then it was just it's interesting. I mean, you hear everybody in every facet, not just music, talk about it, but how much of it's like the journey and it's not the outcome because it never was like it never my entire career, it never felt like I reached and still today, it never felt like I reached, I boom, I did it, like I hit a thing, I like hit the goal or whatever. It's always about what's next. And I think like the older I get, I try to have that, but still like appreciate the moment and say like, oh, this is a cool moment right now. Like I'm chilling, things are good. Um, but it kind of just was natural and I don't know. It was a lot of experiences at once. Like I went from like because I wasn't like a popular kid at all. I was a quiet fucking kid, like you know. Um and not a lot of people even like knew me like that until everybody knew me. So I went from like, yeah, no one talking about me to everybody talking to me. I went from like being a virgin to very much so not being a virgin. Like a lot of things happen very quickly. And I don't know, it's like what I experienced. So I guess it doesn't feel that weird to be teaching. I guess in hindsight, like it's a pretty specific life that I've lived, especially because it happened like so young. And that's one thing I'm like feel very lucky about that, you know, I just turned 27. I like am low key like 10 years in and shit is still like, I'm in a very good place in my career today, like with this last album and everything. It's like an exciting time right now. But I could easily be like fucking like late 30s by now. You know what I mean? If I had my first moment at this age, but I'm lucky that, things were happening young and I, stayed just in love with it. So I very much don't feel like the story is coming to a close. I forget what you asked me, but
No,
hopefully I
listen, you're
Oh,
you're you're
sure.
answering this question and you're building off of it in a great way because I think it's a tremendous compliment to the fact that you haven't gotten that, let's just call it an ego to say like, oh, I've made it, this is it. Because I think every story you hear about someone that has a very long, successful career that becomes a household name is not because of one viral moment. It's not because of one really good album. It's not because of one, freestyle that just happens to go crazy on the internet. It's like, it's a slow burn. And at 27, for you to have such a successful slow burn now, and for you to think of it as like, okay, but I could work harder. I could do more. I haven't made it yet. And also, it's like, you don't view yourself that way, it keeps you in a spot of being humble where you're willing to work. And it also, more importantly, shows the fact that this is what you love to do. This is who you are. This is your existence. This is your purpose. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, of course, the money and the fame and all that stuff, like it's gonna be good as it continues to grow. And you're certainly not gonna turn it down, but you're not all out here talking about how you did this to go and chase a bag. You're like, no, man, like this is what I need. This is who I've always been. And
yeah.
as a
I,
kid from New England to be like, yeah, I got, 4 or 5 albums and also I have been to Germany, but also like I just like to stay in my house. It's like that's crazy. Or Europe,
Yeah.
excuse me, I say Germany, but like maybe you have been to Germany, I don't know. But
definitely.
that's pretty
Yeah.
crazy.
One thing um I hate like cuz I people that will ask me for advice and stuff and the one thing that I like feel bad about is when people say what do you do in moments where you just like want to give up? I I I d I, like, don't know how to answer because I literally have never had that moment, which I'm not saying it's bad to have that moment, like, obviously, it's very natural to have that, like, that moment of, like, I don't know where this is going, but because I've never had a real job, like, this is the only thing I've ever wanted, and it kinda not that every aspect of it, has happened, like, there's tons of shit that I want to happen that have not happened, but generally, what my first wish, like, kinda happened, and I've never like, my career has been, like, there was, like, there was some years that shit was quiet for me and I wasn't really figuring it out. And like, yes, I had my fans, but I wasn't really growing as an artist. But I never really like contemplating like quitting because I literally don't know what like this is all I know. Like it's all of that's it's why. So I kind of I feel for people who go through that and I think it's like I'm the extreme. Like that's an okay feeling like of being like, I don't know how this is gonna happen. Like it's a very natural thing, but I'm just like not the one to give advice for that because like I don't know like bro, I'm like I don't know anything else. And like that's not a brag. Like the clam chowder thing is related. Like I this is all I know. Like I know a lot about a very little amount of things. So uh in some ways that's like good for my career, but in some ways it's like sometimes I feel like half a human because I just like live through this shit.
Well, people ask those type of questions to you because I think so many of us go through times in our life where we want to know everything, we want to experience everything, and instead of becoming the master of one, what is the saying? The master of one, master of none, or something like that. It's like you don't really like. You may not get into all these other facets, but you don't need to.
Yeah.
And I think that there's, again, it's the stigmas that like we put out there. It's like, oh, like, you learn how to do this, you learn how to do that. It's like, yeah, but what if I became the best at this? And not a lot of people stop and try to become the best at something anymore. It's like, okay, I've learned how to do this a little bit. And now I learned how, and then what happens is they realize they're not as good as they thought they were. And then they ask people like you, like, oh, yeah, like, what do you do? Like when you're feeling like you don't really care anymore? What do you do when you don't really want to make music anymore? It's like, well, you don't love it the way I love it.
Mm.
And I
Yeah,
think that's
music is
badass.
tough. Music is tough too because it comes with like people think it comes with like fame and money and like I mean it does a lot of times, but like a lot of the times it like I mean it comes with more fame than money in the grand scheme of things. Like there's a lot of people who are known that don't have, but whatever these other things are tied to it. So I just feel like some people think they'll think it's for them and think they love it and like they really want these other things, which isn't inherently like a bad thing, but it's just like confusing and you wanna be like, "Do you actually love this?" Like, would you be cool just doing this and making, like, not a lot of money? I think that's, like, a good question to ask. Like, would you be down to, like, make music for a living, but you're working, like, more than a 9 to 5 and you're making, like, very decent money? If it's not worth it at that point to you, then, like,
Mm.
I don't think I don't think you should be doing it. Fame is this very stupid thing. Like, I mean, I'm fucking biased, obviously, but it's like I think of this like you make music, like there's musicians, there's actors, and there's like ball players. Those are like the three um like lit things that like bring fame or I mean there's more things, but like those are like three of the main things. And I think we're just like a random evolution of things that like randomly music is one of the things that like brings fame and notoriety, but maybe there's like a different world where maybe being the illest chef is actually what people line up to see like people that is what brings fame and and making music is just like the same as like being a nerd technician and shit. Like it just so happens that music is one quality that people have or one like thing that brings fame. Whereas, like, I don't know, maybe in fucking 1,000 years from now, it'll be like the guy who made this table. That's the most lit guy that he can't go to Stop and Shop because he's gonna get bombarded by fans type shit. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
fame is fucking dumb as shit. But a lot of
that's such
people
a good
think it
point.
like, it's it's cool too. So I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, that makes total sense too. Because if you think about it, the guy who made the table, what, 150, 200 years ago, was like, hey, we can put shit on this. This is awesome.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
hey, let's
yeah.
make a
It could
bigger
have
one.
been.
And now we got tables for Thanksgiving. Like that, that's 100% how it happens. And I think if you look at evolution of anything, that's why it almost keeps going. And at some point, we almost out evolve ourselves because history repeats itself. I mean, one of the biggest things is fashion, but you know, I feel like music is constantly doing that. So, but you're right. The ball players and the actors are up there, and it's so cool to see just how much work that goes into that. But I genuinely don't think you can ever really quantify that because it would be so hard. Like if you took a step back for yourself and you just like could, what do they call that? Like out of body experience.
Yeah, yeah.
If you could do an out of body experience and follow yourself for a day to say like, hey, this is how hard I work, it would probably be a 24/7 thing. Because realistically, this is super random. It might be a little touchy feely. You ever have a hard time sleeping because your brain is just going?
Yes.
Dude, you're working. That's work. We joke about it all the time because, like, he has trouble sleeping because it's just ideas, things.
It's content creation, man. My 15 seconds, minutes, whatever, could be over at any moment. It's like I'm legit only as good as my next video. So similar. I mean, it's probably not the similar experience, but in relation to what you're saying is people sometimes will come up to me like, oh my God, they're like, oh man, that one video you did. And I'm like, bro, that was like 5 years ago. I've made over 2,000 since then. I'm glad you remember that one, but like, are my other ones not sticking? Cause if so, I got to up my shit. Like I'm chasing the high from that one then for this one person. And I genuinely, similar to what you're saying, like I genuinely enjoy creating and all the content and trying to be funny and do all that stuff. But like, if I wasn't getting paid, that's a great statement. I don't know that I would do it anymore. Because I'm just like, it's exhausting, it's tiring. And I love acting. I love doing all that stuff, but it's like a really difficult thing to survive on. And because of the social media world now, I don't know that I have enough expressive art left in me that I need to get out if it wasn't for the fact that it was a career. So I mean, like you got me dead in the water right here. We're like, I don't know if I would tread, bro. I might just let myself sink.
Hey, but that's not like again, I don't think that's like inherently a bad thing. Like,
Right.
that's most people don't most people aren't like in love with their job, I feel.
Yeah.
Like, and even me, like, yes, I love this, but my day to day is definitely a lot of stress and a lot of bullshit and a lot of like if you ask my mom, my sister works at like a restaurant. Uh it makes a lot less money than me and and stuff like that. But if you ask like my mom who like it's very different. We both want different things, but like she lives a lot less stress life,
Right.
you know? So this is like what I signed up for and it's like it's kind of all I know. So, it's what I want, but it's okay to want different things too. It's like that's like to me that's like true confidence. Like my sister is less like attached to like fancy things and like she doesn't care so much about money and if anything like I look up to that because I think that takes a level of confidence. It takes a level of confidence sometimes for people to say, I don't need to be the richest or I don't need to be the most like popular. A lot of people just say I want to be and it's kind of like their ego talking a lot. I think ego is like very involved in what I do and like sometimes it helps and sometimes it's a negative and like um I don't know, it's like I think people should remember like I be trying to like look at shit from like an alien's perspective of like they look down and they can look in our brains of like who's really winning and I kind of the example that I used to bring up like in my life was um my mom versus my dad, where like on paper, everybody would say like my mom had a better life, whereas like she had more relationship with her kids. Like, she talked to like her son more. My dad was like always check to check and like, farther from his kids, kind of like a more unhealthy, like a mess. But my dad was a lot more at least like I was well, he's not here anymore. But in this period when I would like think about this, he was a lot more like appreciative of the little things and more like optimistic where my mom like just got in her head a lot, man, and just like always thought about the stuff she's not and comparing herself. And any human would say, "Oh, the mom is doing better," but aliens would say, "No, the guy is living a better like existence because his day to day is a bit more like happy." So I just say that to say like, we all have different we shouldn't look at others and like, oh, I want that because he has it. Maybe that's good for me. Like you have to really, I feel like, be centered with yourself of like, what do you actually want? Like, what will realistically make you happy? And sometimes you don't know until you get there and you're like, shit, this didn't make me happy. Fuck, I was wrong. But I don't know. It's a concept that I hope like people do think about.
I'm sure that
That's a
they, yeah,
valid, that's a valid way to
I
point.
couldn't have worded that better, man. That it's very true. A lot of people in their lives are chasing things and they're unsure of what it'll actually make them feel, but they're just hoping it makes them feel different than what they're feeling now. And when they
Yeah.
get there, they reflect and say, actually, I was happier with that shit. I don't know what I was running from in the first place, but I'd love to if we could maybe just peel the curtain back a little bit on the industry and give some insight if you're down for that. Whatever you're willing to share, just kind of talk about what it's like, you know, management, concerts, how it all comes to life, like you promotion, social media, like just kind of I'd love to get like a gist of what the day-to-day kind of looks like and feels like, and also kind of give the audience an insight to like what a rap career actually is outside of like the glorification of music videos and the venues, like the sleeping in the buses or the trailers or not having anywhere to sleep, a car. I don't know how good or bad it's gotten for you over the years, but I'm sure it's rougher than others at some point, some point. But and also like the management stuff, like being with a label, not being with a label, what that looks like for you. I'd love to get some insight to all those things.
Yeah. Every scenario is super different. Like I am in like a stage right now where like I'm trying to learn from other artists and it's very interesting. It's kind of like really cool how everybody's experiences are different and like it's very not it's very individually based, like, everybody's thing is different. Somebody might stream well, can't sell any tickets. Some people might be able to sell tickets, not stream well. Some people might have powerful manager that doesn't do shit for them. Some people might have, like, a shit manager that does a lot for them. It's so completely some people are hot now and, maybe won't be hot later. Some people, like, it's so different, but, um so yeah, I mean, for me, um, I don't think I've done like everything like the perfect way. Like for example, I think I've been like a bit too much of a perfectionist on like releasing albums. Like I really, this album I just dropped is my third album, and I just said I'm 10 years in. Like that's not good. And I should be, and I have like fans all around the world that I can like tour and sell tickets to, and I still haven't done that much touring. Like, there's some stuff I haven't like gotten to a flow of like perfectly, but I don't know. For me, dude, it's like, um, I have, my manager just like he found me when I was 17, and he actually found me like right before uh I had that, like, viral moment when I was 17 that we were talking about, like, literally, like, a week before the video was already done, like, he came at, like, the perfect time type thing, but, he really, like, he helps, like, facilitate things, but he would tell you it all really comes from the artist, and yes, it's talent, but it's hard work, and then it's also, like, smart work, and if your stuff is, like, uh if it's the right time for you, like there's certain times like in the YouTube days when I was like getting my first like shit out there, like that was a moment for me. And then right around like COVID, like I didn't really figure it out from like 2020 to like honestly this year, bro. Like I was cruising, like I still have my fans, but shit wasn't really going up for whatever. I'm on a tangent, but
You're good, man.
I'm,
Tangent
I'm
away.
for me now, um my career is like all I do. I wake up, I go to the gym, uh, and then I'm just like busy until I go to sleep, and I just fill it up with I try to make music every day. Like I'm a big believer in like you don't get better, make music is like a muscle, and like you get better and better by recording more and more and making more stuff. Um, Trying not to hold myself back like I felt like I have in the past. I think that's like the biggest like that's the big I mean, there's a lot of problems that artists have, but when I see like people with potential that they always shoot themselves in the foot is like not dropping. I know this is what everybody says, but like it's just the fucking truth that if you really believe in yourself, you can't be one of these people who say like, "Nah, this song is too good to just drop with no budget. Uh, we gotta save and wait." If you really believe in yourself, you should believe that you can make a song that's as good as that one, if not better. I see a lot of people thinking they need a manager, they need a it's all bullshit, bro. It's all in the artist's hands these days, and like a lot of people think there's like these magical buttons to click. Um, and there's not anymore. Maybe back in the day there was like you sign as some radio button to be pressed and shit, but it's truly, truly, truly in your own hands these days. And the powerful thing about like releasing, you guys probably know, but like the powerful thing about releasing a bunch of content and like dropping a good amount of music is like you are constantly learning. Whereas
Mm.
like I felt for years when I look back, I was barely learning because I would drop so little. So if like something did bad, I didn't even know why, or like I didn't like experiment enough of like understanding it more. I think now it's really cool because it's a landscape that like you can like it's more difficult to oversaturate yourself. So you can take a bunch of shots and just because one does bad doesn't mean it's gonna um hurt the next one. And you know,
You get
this shit
instant
is
feedback too with social media.
yes, yes. And this is like it's survival of the fittest, dude. And it's like you kind of got to be good at everything. Like you got to be good at like yes, you got to be talented at making music, but talent, bro, is like the bare minimum. Like
Yeah.
you got to work fucking hard, but you also got to work smart. You can't be like from my experience, maybe there are, but like you can't really be a dumbass anymore. Like you kind of gotta like be savvy and like you can ignore the numbers sometimes and you can ignore what other people like. Look at the landscape, study music, like be smart about it. Bro, I see so many talented people just like thinking that like I barely spend money. Like I spend money on like visuals and I spend money on like I probably should be spending more money, but I don't do ads. I don't do, we'll do ads when I go on the next store to like reach people, but nowadays, like, I will only spend money if something is already working and then I can double down on it. I don't like just throw money at shit. Uh, and my experience with like labels is like I say this all the time. I'm not Mr. Fuck every single label. I'm not Mr. Blah 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 blah. But I did one album with a label, and I would say like the worst why I would advise against it is only because unless it's like a savvy label, shit just moves slower a lot of the time. And bro, this shit is hard enough. You getting your song like done is hard enough, and then your engineer's taking too much time, and then you got to find the videographer, and then the edit is taking too much time, and then the manager, and then the booking agent isn't responding right away. There's so many delays that I think like half of the game is trying to like limit the delays because you turn around, bro, and you blink, and it's about to be Thanksgiving, and you're like, "What the fuck? I thought it was the beginning of this year still."
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Facts.
And the label, like big corporations just like have to do things the proper way, which is like, so be it. But like they have to do, when I was at Atlantic, like I'd be wearing like a Balenciaga shirt and they would have to like reach out to Balenciaga to make sure it's okay that Token wears the Balenciaga doesn't give a fuck what Token wears in his music video, but they have to get the okay on it like that. And I would have to push back my videos because of it.
Yeah,
That's dumb.
that's
That's a
crazy.
stupid, dumb thing.
Yeah.
And so that's yeah, that's what I would say. I really do feel like it's people want to say what they people want to say shit about, there's not these superstars anymore. Like, oh, I used to be like Busta and 50 and G Unit and fucking Luda and Nelly and like these big icons. But dude, it's so much in your hands now. Back then, you needed a label to say, yes, sir. You needed the label to say, like, yes, okay, we'll release it. Now it's all fucking in your hands. And it's beautiful. That's how it should be. By the way, you talk about the three I mentioned. actors, sports players, music. Music is the only one you don't need a daddy.
Right.
You don't need the NBA to say we signed you, and you don't need a director to say you're in. You can just you're the it's the only fucking one you can do by yourself.
That's a valid
And
point. That's valid.
you
And
know,
honestly,
so
with social media, like some of those things, I mean, on the largest scale, like those will always exist, but some of those things are even changing. Like, because I'm an actor, but at this point, like my social media career has far surpassed any of my acting, and now I've become an actor, director, writer, producer. I've learned how to edit. I've learned lighting. I bought my own cameras. Now I have a podcast. I've got, lucky to have two friends that help me. But if these guys weren't in my life, I probably still would have done it. Just figured it out on my own. It's like even that's changing the game. And with
yeah,
like ball players, you go on Facebook, you go on YouTube, like you're seeing these guys with their own like and one style mixtapes where they're out there making their own basketball videos, kids doing their own football stuff. Like that hasn't grown enough yet, but they're doing like these celebrity basketball games and all these influencers are coming out and they're getting paid hefty checks. Like maybe they're not getting the $500 million Jason Tatum and, Jalen Brown money, but they're getting paid a couple $1,000s to go ball. And it's like, 5 years ago, there was people who were great basketball players who weren't getting shit to do that. And it's like,
yeah.
it's changing quick, but I can definitely see how music would be huge for that. Uh, would you say that New England has influenced your music career like heavily, like the way that you rap, how you're inspired when you write? Or do you think that maybe that it hasn't played a huge part, the
I
demographic in the region?
I mean, it literally has by the fact that um I had like this mentor, John Glass, who's like an amazing producer, who kind of took me around when I was like uh 13, 14. He would help me get like me and my friend Colin, my other friend Trey, he would like help, just find like local gigs for us, like opening up, for like random artists and stuff. And one thing he introduced me to was he would bring me into Boston and we would do like these he'd just like bring me around like dudes in Boston to like cipher around and rap in front of. So um I was really young, like looking at guys who were like 10 years older than me, but like these amazing rappers that were like unknown and, really like grew up in some different shit than me, not like me at all. But, my biggest thing, like one of my biggest things in life back then was like trying to make these dudes go, woo,
Yeah.
like what boy can spit, like trying to impress these dudes. So I mean, in that way, like these were dudes who like grew up in Boston. I mean, I don't know about all of them growing up like in Boston, but like, uh, New England guys who like getting their cosign was like everything to me. So in that way, literally on the ground, yes. And I think like the hard work thing is a thing of like the East Coast, whereas like if I grew up in the West Coast, like I don't know if I'd be as it sounds silly, but I remember, you know, when I really started getting into like the technical shit, I remember being like 12 writing or maybe like 14 actually. Yeah, like 14, 15, like writing and like I need a word or a phrase to mean this, but it needs to rhyme like this, and it needs to sound like this, and literally waiting like hours. I'm not kidding. Like 3 hours trying to find this word or phrase that just like a combination of words that needs to rhyme with this but mean this. And that's just like to me, like when I go to the West Coast, it's just like a lot more like chiller and like there a lot of them are just like about the right vibe and stuff. And I like a good vibe. I'm chilling too, but I wear that hard work shit on my sleeve. Like I really believe in it. And I think that's like maybe not just some New England shit, but some East Coast shit, So I
Mm,
definitely think that
Absolutely.
that's me. And, you know, growing up, I always like, especially when I was young, I mean, I have like more appreciation for like the styles and shit a lot more. Like a lot of my favorite rappers are like from Atlanta and, different like southern places. But growing up, it was like I was obsessed with like the New York shit. Um, I was like obsessed with G Unit, Big, J, uh, you know, I mean, still some like not all New York shit, but like that was my favorite shit. Is Detroit considered whatever? Just not some West Coast shit. Like
Yeah.
I didn't really understand South shit and like West Coast shit until I was like a bit more like mature. But it's just not really what I grew up with as much as like the other shit. So in that way, I think definitely like if not the North Shore, the East Coast definitely plays like a big role in what I do.
No, absolutely. New England as a whole has always been known for our hard work, especially the East Coast, because LA's got that that relaxed, chill vibe, and that's why a lot of the West Coast music that was produced was heavy on the drums and kind of being like something you bump and like you vibe to, and sometimes you can dance to it. Whereas like East Coast has been like lyrics that meant shit, that was telling a story, that was talking about what it's like to be from where they're from, and so absolutely. Let me ask you, I am curious, like, what's your feelings towards like the new age, like AI, and the fact that it's 100% starting to play a role, especially in like the music industry, right? Where AI is creating beats. It's more than likely ghostwriting for people and helping people get across the finish line. And do you agree with it? Do you dabble in it? Are you like anti it? Like, what's your feeling towards how AI is going to be contributing to the music industry moving forward?
I kind of don't give a fuck, bro. Like I know it's like a narrative and like to me, like, yes, it's like I don't dabble in it, and then my friend will show me some shit, and I'm like, damn, that's fucked. Like, it's fucked what it can do. Like, it truly is fucked. But I guess maybe call me like stupid and like maybe I'm too optimistic, but I just think like um if anything, people will like have more because of this, they'll have more of appreciation of like real shit, and maybe people will buy tickets to see shit live more
Mm.
because they know that can't be faked. Are people for sure using it? Like, yeah, definitely. And like will some people never know? Like, yeah. But I m- you know, probably some jobs will be fucked or whatever. I'm scared for like some video people because like what they can do visually is insane.
Yeah, it's wild.
But I think for the artist proposition, like it depends. Like I was saying, with music bringing fame, a lot of time, like a lot of shit nowadays, music actually doesn't bring fame. Where it's like there'll be these artists that are quietly streaming millions and millions. Then you go to their Instagram and they have like 10,000 followers, and like people people will be like, "That's what the fuck." Like the streams are fake, but they're not fake. And I don't think that's inherently a bad thing. Like I was saying before, like maybe times are changing where like music appreciated beyond the artist proposition. Like you can appreciate music without loving an artist and like wanting to see them live. And I think that's okay. It's like me appreciating this fucking table. I don't give a fuck who built it. I'm sorry. But but I think for some people, like for me, like yes, streams like are important to me. I want plaques. Like I want that shit. But for me, like I think I'm meant to be like I want to be like an art, like I want to tour. I want people to come to my shows, and I think like that shit can't die. Like you can't AI me in like real life or
Mm,
whatever. But
right.
if you're one of these people who like just make music for the algorithm, like the Spotify algorithm, maybe you're gonna be a little bit more fucked. I hope not. I hope there's a way that like it'll show if it's AI, and I hope that kids might be like, I don't really like it. It's not even real.
Yeah, we
But
had
I
a
don't.
comedian on before you, and we were having that same conversation. And I think like everything in life, there's an ebb and flow, and things come and go. And I think
Yeah.
while AI is not going anywhere and it is the future, regardless of how we feel about it, I do think that it's heavily going to push people back to the human experience. And things like going to concerts, going to comedy shows, going out to a movie theater, doing this shit is definitely going to be something that, like, hopefully a majority in the masses of people will start to lean towards. Because at some point, we're all just going to get so fucking numb from the constant exposure to
Mm.
AI. And, like, again, as an actor, as an artist, I'm easily being replaced. Outside of the content as an actor, a majority of like how actors who don't make it in movies, which is about 98 fucking percent of us, our paychecks come from doing commercials. And now, you know, healthcare commercials, car commercials, all this is all becoming AI. So we're losing because, you go and do movies, most of them aren't paid. And then if they are, it's like $200 for like 16 hours. It's like the math is shit on that. But a commercial would pay like $1,000 for like 5 hours on set, and it's like that's how you made a living. But now it's like now with AI, it's like it's going to take over. So
Yeah, I do think like what you said, like things like bounce back and forth, and it doesn't mean AI will definitely be here to stay. Like, but at the same time, it's like a lot of these like young kids barely post on social media anymore because they think this shit is corny. Like their Instagram is like more like mysterious, and they don't post like. And not to say they don't use it, they still be scrolling, and it's still. But like, I don't think that's something people would have foreshadowed like maybe like 6 years ago or something, where like people were like Instagramming everything, or like now kids are like that shit is corny. Like everybody knows Instagram is not. Everybody knows it's fake. Like you know like yeah, I don't know. A lot of these like young kids aren't even like posting like that on social anymore, and I think like that's an interesting thing to look at. Like they could be posting their whole life and flexing in front of a car, but it's like corny to them now. And I
yeah,
think like there's another example of that I was like thinking of. But the same thing you said about fashion, like shit like comes and goes, and um I was gonna say like uh I was really into like I've always like hired artists to create like my artwork for my songs and stuff, and for my album Pick Is Better, for each single cover, we did this whole elaborate like amazing piece of art, and it was always like 3D shit. But now like I personally like don't want to work with any 3D artists. No offense to 3D artists out there. I want to work with artists, but like every time I see that 3D shit, it just makes me think of AI. Like it just reminds me of AI. So I'm like off the 3D design type shit. And then I don't know, maybe one day I'll bounce back because it'll be less. But it's like I naturally have more of a like I'm good with any of that shit that might look like that shit, or so I don't know. I kind of am like optimistic, and like humans are like smart, and but yeah, but it's some things that'll be inevitable. Like there's some things that like are AI that we have no idea. Like I could legit be using AI to like what rhymes with this. I'm just too superstitious about that shit that I feel like if I ever use like a rhyming dictionary, I'm like God is gonna be like no more success for you. You didn't appreciate your blessings. you know. But there are definitely motherfuckers who do that.
yeah, 100%. Awesome talk. All right, we're gonna get into the So New England segment now. Gonna ask you some New England inspired and based questions, but I'm gonna try and kind of curate it to you. So again, these are not factual, so it's all just your opinion. Have you traveled to all the New England states? New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine, Mass, Rhode Island, and Connecticut?
Yes, I've been to Vermont like once by accident, kind of, but yeah.
That's usually how people.
All
get
right,
to
one of
Vermont.
our most popular question is I always like to kind of get people to rank their favorite New England states in order from 1 to 6.
Massachusetts um is one. So like it's Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut. Massachusetts, Rhode Island, from okay, so Vermont, let's just put at the bottom.
Okay.
Massachusetts we'll put at one.
So you got New Hampshire, Maine, Rhode Island.
Maine will put right above Vermont.
5.
We're gonna go Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut,
Ooh, okay, pretty high.
New Hampshire.
Maine. Oh, New Hampshire. I don't fucking know, bro. Like I haven't been in New Hampshire. Like I don't know and I don't even know Connecticut like that. But I know they got like the pizza place. Let's go Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Hampshire, Maine, Vermont.
All right,
That's a good
that's a
list.
good list.
Good list.
That's a good list. Of all of the songs that you have, is there one song that you think would be like, this is the song that for me best represents my relationship with New England?
Oh, I don't know. I barely like
You got a lot of songs, man. I can imagine that's like tough to remember all of them, honestly.
I think it's some hard like Do people drive Jeeps a lot? But people drive Jeeps
Wait, we're
everywhere.
like Rhode Island is all Jeeps. This guy right here is a
Oh,
Jeep
so let's
driver.
go Jeep. Let's go Jeep
All right. I love
on
that.
Jeep.
If there was a way for you to kind of encapsulate like what New England is in like a single phrase, what would you tell someone who's not from New England, like what we're all about? I think you kind of harped on it a little bit earlier, but
Yeah, I think like hardworking, you know, we might seem a little like standoffish, but like we got good hearts. We're just focused on what's like our families and like, getting the job done. We like to honk maybe, but don't necessarily like take it so personal. And then there's some places where like a lot you'd be surprised, like people vacation at. People got vacation homes in like New Hampshire and like Maine and probably Vermont and shit. Um, I don't really know those places as much, but like, there's some chill, like calm places too. It's not, it doesn't take that long to get somewhere that seems like a complete different place. Like you're in the woods type thing.
right.
But,
Boston to the mountains of New Hampshire in 2 hours. Like that's a huge
yeah.
difference in 2 hours.
And it's like, if it's like, it sounds like an insult, but some of it is like diet New York, where it's like, not, you don't gotta be in New York, but like you'll get some of the like culture.
We're the caffeine free version of New York.
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go.
I like that. That's a good one. Is there anything about New England that you think is kind of overrated though?
I hate the accent.
Gotcha. Noted. My bad.
I don't even really notice it on you. Uh, I'm not a sports guy. Like I think this, not everyone here is obsessed with sports. I don't know much about sports. I also like I don't drink beer. I like to drink, but I'm not a beer drinker. We can still have we got espresso martinis out here too. And like, hey, this racist everywhere. And Boston has some fucked up, shit in the past, but there's a lot of culture here. There's a lot of like different
Absolutely.
cultures.
Mm.
It's not all of the movies what all the movies portray it to be.
Yeah. How about underrated? Since we're talking about overrated, what's underrated about New England to you?
Token is from there.
The rappers from New England are underrated.
Yes. Like the fall in New England is fire.
Oh, see, that's good because I was going to ask you to ask what your favorite season is. So it's
Fall for sure.
fall for sure.
Yeah,
Our fall is
hoodie, weather,
severely underrated.
I think so. I agree with that.
hoodie weather for sure. Also like I never have these anymore, but I like when I used to smoke. And this is just I wonder if you guys know what this is, or if this is just a North Shore Mass thing. A roast beef three-way.
Yeah.
We definitely know what they are,
We
and they
know
are
of them.
very popular. We talk about them quite a bit on here, but we don't have roast beef three ways here in Rhode Island. That is like North Shore beef. Like that is 100% like a Massachusetts North Shore thing. Cause we have,
I'm been that guy. You gotta ask other people for that, but that's a nice thing. It's not just clam chowder and lobster rolls. That's another.
so we're going to say that that's your official New England food. That's the staple is a roast beef three way.
I mean, I barely have them anymore, but I don't know what else it would be. Like I mean, I like I like a large hot black coffee from Dunk's. Kill me.
Love it.
Yeah.
I'm with it. I'm with it. All right. I know you're well traveled because you've been out and about on tour. So is there like another city or state or country, continent, like anywhere that you've traveled to that if you could add it to New England to join our 6 states here, what would it be? And you got to bring everything. You got to bring the people, the traffic, the buildings, like everything that comes with it.
There's other places I love, but they would make no sense here.
We've had
Love it.
people add New York. So, I mean, it don't got to make sense. That's like they add New York, they've had Philly. People have added Italy and Ireland and Florida and Cali. Like Alaska.
Adding Ireland would be crazy. No. Let's add like Austria.
Oh shit. Okay, that's a first.
All right.
Get a little culture, but like they're not like Switzerland.
Yeah, like pompous.
Yeah.
They're the cool version.
No, let's do Amsterdam. Like, because they know how to have fun, but they're not crazy. They're not like island crazy because we don't need like more of that. But they're like good people and like, yeah, let's do Amsterdam.
Hell yeah.
That'd be
Controlled chaos.
I love that.
Yeah.
Toki,
awesome.
man, this has been just like an awesome time getting to know you and chatting with you a ton. If everyone wanted to find you online so they can stream you and check out your music if they haven't already, which if they haven't, they've obviously been living under a rock. But I will be remiss to say I'm a bit older, so I have an older demographic. So hopefully I'm putting some people on to you. But where can they find you at?
if you just look up Token, my ad is Token Hip Hop. You said you got an older demographic, so that's Instagram.com Token Hip Hop and YouTube.com/Token Hip Hop.
Love that. And how about
Nailed
streaming your music? You're on Spotify, iTunes, all the platforms?
All the platforms that will just be Token. TOKEN. That's Spotify.com/Token.
Oh, that's mad
awesome.
funny. All right. And how about any upcoming shows or anything like that people should know about, or any music videos, anything you got dropping soon? I know you just had that album drop. So anything else people
Yeah.
should be on the lookout for?
I got a lot of videos coming, and then top of the year we're gonna start dropping new music. And I definitely got a tour. We're gonna be touring the US probably around like April. So there'll definitely be some special shit for Massachusetts in April.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's awesome. Token, thank you very much again for your time and jumping on with us. It's been awesome getting to know you a little bit more, and I look forward to seeing all this success in the future.
Hell yeah, dude.
Of course, hell yeah. Thank you guys for having me. It's
Yeah.
just fun.
Not a problem. All right, folks, that's going to conclude episode 69 of the So New England podcast. Please remember, folks, life's better in New England.
Red Sox